Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. It's time to make some deals. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia. With me, of course, is the Welsh. And today we're going to look at some players to trade away and trade for. And at this juncture in the season, we're recording this on the 1st of July. It's the first of the month, baby. And you have to sometimes price enforce. If you watched last week's video, we talked about Corey Seager being a player that is just better than he's played in 2025. And it was smart to purchase him. By the weekend, he had a couple more home runs, and all of a sudden, we look pretty smart. Now, we're going to try to do that again with some players that have had some underwhelming first 90 or so games in the Major League season, and what they're going to look like in the latter part after the All-Star break. We're also going to take a look at some pitchers who might have maxed out some innings that no matter how well they've pitched in this season so far, now might be the time to get out. I want to start here with a hitter, though, that has had a disappointing season, and it's Jarren Duran. He's only hitting .253 on the year with a .723 OPS. That's certainly down from last year's fantastic campaign that saw him hit 21 homers. He had 14 triples, 48 doubles last year, and just 34 stolen bases and hit .285. Jarren Duran's a better player than he has shown you this year. I don't know if the trade talk has got to him or whatever that might be, and he might still be traded. Either way, Jarren Duran, I just think, in principle, is an asset that I think the best of 2025 could still be ahead of him. Welsh, what do you think about trying to make a move now for Jarren Duran while his stock is at its lowest?
I think this is a pretty good call here. He's, from a production standpoint, the months have been down. 250, 260, this 210. Really stands out for a lot of people. And the overall homer, I think it's like the power department, which is the thing that has dropped the most that stands out. But from like a profile standpoint, a lot of it's the same. He's hitting the ball harder. Barrel percentage is about the same on how hard he's hitting it, by the way. Average exit velocity is 92.1. And this is something that also kind of stands out to me in that, I kind of agree with you that, maybe like the trade talks and just the struggling of the team might be kind of weighing down a little bit. But if you're looking from where can he bounce back from a power department, he's underperforming against fastballs. Expected batting average is 40 points higher. He's actually has a hard hit percentage better than last year on four-seam fastballs. Exit velocities against four-seam fastballs, 2 miles an hour harder. That's the primary pitch. So if you're underperforming and you're gonna be better on that front, and you're hitting the ball harder and the exit velocities are better, I still think there's a pretty good opportunity for him to drop some more homers. He is pulling the ball in the air a little bit more than he did last year. And whether unless he goes to a really bad, pull side place if he's traded, I just think there is more power in the tank. And I think the season, maybe whether it's, the trade talks kind of move away from him or he does get traded, he can kind of let that go. And I just like the idea of him who is coming off of a June where he hit 210, that I believe he's closer to a 260, 270 hitter. Expected batting average is kind of telling that story. I think the best is yet to come for him this season. And I think he's a really sneaky buy right now. The only thing I could hold it back is whether positively or negatively a guy is put into trade conversations. I think their name gets bigger in the fantasy market where, he's going to get traded. So we like him more now. You know what I mean?
Sometimes that does happen, but I think because the whole power numbers are so lagging this year, you could probably still get away with it. Austin Riley is a player historically who's been a little streaky in his career. And even last year, the first half of the season was not good. Then he got red hot, and then we all know what happened. This year, he's got 12 home runs, 42 RBI, 269. He's been fine. But over his last 15 games, he's hitting just 224 with a 328 slugging. So I just want to point out just one home run in his last 58 at-bats. Austin Riley is better than this, and he is a guy that can run a little hot and cold. And I think on principle, yet again, Austin Riley is a big-time bat. It's not going to be completely cheap, but you're definitely buying lower on Austin Riley currently. And I do think the last 60 games of the season for him could be far better than what we've seen. And we saw it even last year, right? July came around, and Austin Riley started to get real hot again.
And he comes up all the time in our shows where people are like, what's up with Austin Riley? And are we done with him? And if that conversation is just kind of centered around, then that means his value, whether it's in a 2-for-1 or 2-for-2 type of trade, or just even overall 1-for-1s, that it's just down, even though he's got a better batting average than last year. He's, the homer pace is lower, but he's got the same OBP as last year. He's stolen a couple bases. And from a profile perspective, 14% barrel, 50% hard hit rate. We love that. Average EVs are good. Everything is just relatively in line. He's pulling the ball in the air a little bit more. I kind of like Duran. I just think like there's just a weird conversation around because, like Junior Caminero is playing so much better. And maybe he has leaped him a tiny bit, that Austin Riley doesn't have the feel of that second round pick, but he still might be like a fourth round pick out there. Like if he has a hot run here and he ends up with 30 home runs, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised. So I think that there's just a public perception issue with Austin Riley when it's really not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's just he's not living up to the expectation of draft capital. And those are really good opportunities where you can buy sometimes, where someone thinks a player is worse because they're not reaching their draft capital. What the hell do you care about the draft capital? Because you're just now buying him at this new capital that they've created.
100%. I think the next guy we're going to talk about fits that bill to a T, Jackson Merrill. And it's not all his fault, too. He's had some injuries, right? He's only got 200 at-bats on the year. He's got 5 home runs over that span, 26 RBI, only 1 stolen base, too, just pointing that out, too. So a little disappointing in that category. 289 batting average is 787 OPS. I do want to point out, though, if you look to last year's splits, the second half for him was also much better. He had 278 in the first half, 314 in the second half. Last year, Welsh also his OPS jumped from 745 to 945 post All-Star break. And where is his OPS right now? 787. So maybe he's a second half guy. Maybe it's been a health issue. He's been off and on. You had the one health issue earlier, then the concussion issue. It feels like just like a tough first half for Jackson Merrill. And the draft capital that you paid was a very high cost, a second round pick most likely. So another guy that I think fits that bill to a T. I believe in the talent. I believe in the team. I think the Padres will, find themselves here in the summer. What do you think about acquiring Jackson Merrill here on the cheap?
So I think from a skill set standpoint, he would be my favorite of these. But from an overall package, I think he's at the bottom of these 3 guys that we're talking about, because there are some more worrisome things. The strikeout rate has moved up a little bit. Zone contact rate has dropped pretty significantly. He's pulling the ball in the air way less than he did last year, like a 5 percentile drop. And his BABIP is up. He's running a pretty high BABIP. So I think all of those things in general, that kind of worries me from what the overall thing is going to look like. But like you mentioned, like he hit 315 in the second half last year. He was able to lift the ball in the second half. And it might be a tale of 2 seasons. Plus, it's almost a lost first half because of the injuries and the amount of time that's just kind of taken him away. I definitely do think he can bounce back. It's a weird stat, and sometimes people look at Baseball Savant in any of the stats and they're like, what is this? Like launch angle sweet spot, I think is kind of a goofy one, but I always like to look at it with a profile of a player. And I've always called it kind of the Mookie Betts one. Mookie Betts never has like big barrel, big hard hit, but he has always run this really high launch angle sweet spot, which is that, obviously he hits the ball in a way that creates the best ability to get the ball in the air. And, Jackson Merrill does that at a very high degree with a lot of contact. He's just missing a few of those pieces and making a ton of that contact. And his hard hit percentage is down by 4%. So he refines himself, maybe a small break. We know what that power output can look like. And maybe he's going to have to get more hyper aggressive in this second half for the team. So I think the skills are there, but the underlying stuff is a little bit less than those other guys. But guess what? He might be the cheapest of all of them because this is the one that looks the most lost right now. So again, you're buying on skill set, and I'm down to do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, imagine if I told you, right now you could trade for Austin Riley, Jackson Merrill, or Jarren Duran. People would be like, what? If I told you that in April, right, when you were just finished all your drafts, right? These are cornerstone kind of players. So that's a really good look right now, especially if you're a contending team and somebody's got these players that is out of it. This is a good situation to prey upon those, and those teams maybe look at the next year in a keeper league. So go look at these names. Also look at the trade analyzer while you're at it. Make smarter fantasy baseball trades with the trade analyzer. You can instantly evaluate if a trade benefits your team or your opponent. See how potential trades affect each team's stats and starting lineups. Make informed trade decisions today with the trade analyzer, only on Fantasy Pros My Playbook app, or at fantasypros.com/MLB My Playbook. Sync your leagues for free and use the tools. Also, you get 6 months if you sign up today, take you all the way through football season as well. Pretty smart use of your money and time. All right, let's talk about sell highs, and let's talk about some pitchers who I'm a little worried about what the rest of the season looks like in terms of innings catching up with them. And Kris Bubic has been awesome. I just want to put that out there. He has been so good. One of these guys that might have even put you in position to win your league. He's 6-6 on the year. It's because the Royals don't have a good offense. He has a 2.25 ERA, a 1.13 whip. He's got 101 strikeouts and 96 innings. But it's the 96 innings I want to talk about, Welsh, because historically speaking, that's a lot here for him as we're pushing. Last year, he had only a combined 65 innings between the minors and the major leagues. The year before that, 129. So I'm just not sure if Kris Bubic is going to, at some point, come back down to earth a little bit or fatigue a little bit once we get to that 120 mark, somewhere around there. And I'm just trying to look ahead. I'm not saying you got to get rid of Kris Bubic. I'm saying this is the high point if you are going to, and if you can get a pitcher and a hitter back or something that can really help your team, or maybe you're desperate for a closer, it's a move I think you should at least investigate.
Yeah, I think the problem is the time to have sold him was in May and the value has gone down. But the positive is he created this little, Kris Bubic world that was like, oh, he is valuable. Where maybe he wasn't preseason, probably wasn't drafted by anybody. But I think this past month has just hurt so much of this because he has a 4.23 ERA. He gave up more runs in the month of June than he had given up the entire season combined leading up to that. So June really fell apart. He was walking more. His whip absolutely inflated. He had a 1.2 and a 0.87 whip coming in from April and May, 1.41. So just giving up a lot more contact, a lot more hits, more walks. He walked more this past month. The stuff has been pretty good, but I kind of agree with you. Like, you stack in those innings on the back half of the year, stuff is kind of coming apart a little bit. There's a dance between should you even sell him at this point where it's really low and just hold on and see if he finds it, or get what you can. I think you can get what you can in this instance. There might be a reliever out there. You just might have to have your expectations a little bit lower. But I kind of agree with you. I'm not sure I'm feeling like another 2 ERA month coming from Kris Bubic. I think the season might be catching up to him a little bit.
I expect him to be pretty good rest of season. I just don't know if he can match what he's done already. And that, again, this is the whole point of trades, right? Can you find an asset that maybe is being undervalued, underappreciated, you think is going to be better than Bubic potentially, who hasn't been as good in the first part of the season? Clay Holmes has been pretty solid this year, but he's up to 88 innings. Previous 2 seasons, he topped out at 63 plus some postseason innings because he was with the Yankees in the relief role. Now, he is still a great ground ball pitcher, but his ERA is at 2.97. The expected ERA is 4.12. He's been struggling with walks recently. I feel like fatigue is setting in here for Clay Holmes a little bit, and I think now is the time where you could put him with another piece and maybe improve what Clay Holmes might look like in, like I said, July, August, September. What are your thoughts on Clay Holmes? Do you think it's still enough time to get out from under him? He does pitch for the Mets. That's still a team that has a lot of, public love, and rightfully so. They're still going to, despite losing to the Pirates all weekend, they're still going to be in the playoffs most likely. So Clay Holmes to me is an asset that I think some people might look at and say, yeah, okay, I want that pitcher on the Mets, but not realize, man, maybe this innings limit thing is going to hit him hard in the second half.
Yeah, I think the thing that works well for you is you still get a sub-3 ERA. So that works where the 8 wins.
At least today, he pitches today. We'll see what happens. And I remember we wanted to sell Marcell Ozuna on a show a couple weeks ago, and this video came out, and then he had a big day at the plate, and everyone said, you guys are dumb. And then he proceeded to hit $150 over the next 2 weeks. So just
yeah, we have to watch what happens with Clay. But yeah, I think you laid it out pretty well. I mean, the expected ERA is over a full run higher. What I don't love is it's like about a 10% K minus walk percentage. So, that's, you take the K percentage, you take away the walks. What does that look like? It's garbage for Clay Holmes because his K percentage is the lowest it's been since 2020, only 20%. And it's one of the highest walk percentages of his career at 9.5. So that is roughly, what is that? Like almost like 10.9%. That's a really poor K minus walk percentage. And the only reason that matters is like, if you're not getting away with having, you have your ERA inflates a little bit. Are you getting good strikeouts? Are you not putting guys on base? If you're walking almost 10% and you're striking out only about 20%, I don't know. If the ball starts to catch up to you, I'm a little bit worried that we're going to start seeing that ERA inflate. I think he can go from that mid-tier-ish pitcher, which he's been all season, to maybe on the bottom end. Maybe we're talking about him as a streamer. So if someone is super interested because of the wins, because of the Mets, because they're competitive, again, like I think you can look and maybe try to solidify another position if you've got a little bit of strength at SP.
One more guy, and he's been on this list before. It's Rasmussen. So last year, in 2024, he had a combined about 35 innings. The year before that, in 2023, 44 innings. This year, he's already up to 87. And I'm just concerned that what's it going to look like as we move forward. He's been very good for the Rays. I don't want to discount anything he's done, But I think part of this is making those hard decisions, Welsh, and saying, okay, it's been great, but what does it look like over the next 50 innings? And I think that is a question I don't think any of us really know the answer to. So I'd rather get out while the getting out is good instead of being stuck with somebody who hits that innings wall and then no longer becomes viable for me. I'm not saying I'm giving him away for peanuts, but I do want to shop him around at the very least.
It's kind of like the Clay Holmes discussion. I put him in an article on Fantasy Pros about 3-ish weeks ago. And since then, three of his last 4 starts, he's given up 2 or more earned runs. But more importantly, 2 of the last 4, he's had 4 earned runs given up, and he has not gotten to the 6th. So he has not had a quality start in that period of time. He's walked 2+ in 2 of his last 3 starts as well. This has been a guy I've kind of targeted exactly like you said. Innings catch up. He was coming off of an injury at the season. He's played really well. Expected numbers telling a little bit of a different story. Expected batting average is the highest against that is expected. K percentage is super low. Expected ERA is about a run higher. It's just take a Drew Rasmussen, who has been just this awesome boon win for everybody, 2.78 ERA on the season. I expect the second half he's going to get hit a little bit more. So if you have the ability to sell high, someone's really in on Drew Rasmussen, I'm listening. But I don't think you just need to give him away. I'm less likely to give him away than I think I would Clay Holmes at this point. I might kind of throw him out a little bit more before I would Drew Rasmussen, but I am actively looking to trade. So I agree with you, trying to get out from Drew Rasmussen if I can.
Who are you looking to trade away or trade for? Drop your comments below and subscribe to Fantasy Pros MLB. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. And if you do those 2 things, like this video, subscribe, and then drop a comment, the 3 things really, when you think about it, you'll actually end up with a chance to win a Juan Gonzalez autographed jersey. That's right, from pristineauction.com. It's our July giveaway. So get in on that bad boy. We got plenty of July left, plenty of moves to make, and plenty of baseball to talk about. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.